Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I will give it a few seconds as our audience joins. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today for a discussion with two of the Gulf region's most dynamic entrepreneurs, Patrick Chalhoub and Fadi Ghandour, as they share their vision on how technology, innovation, and an entrepreneurial approach to CSR and philanthropy can best enable sustainable development in the region. My name is Rania Saadawi, and I'm the Executive Director of the Pearl Initiative. And on behalf of the Pearl Initiative, we are pleased to be hosting today's webinar session, which is part of our special virtual Majlis series, held in collaboration with the Philanthropy Network and with the generous support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. As I see we have a number of new attendees to our webinar series, I'd like to start by first introducing the Pearl Initiative. The Pearl Initiative is the Gulf region's leading independent nonprofit organization for business by business, working to improve corporate accountability and transparency across the private sector. Corporations, family firms and family conglomerates, small businesses, and philanthropic organizations in the Gulf region. We were established 10 years ago by regional business leaders and the United Nations Office for Partnerships. More recently, we are one of the few organizations in the Gulf region to receive special consultative status from the United Nations Economic and Social Council. As part of our governance and philanthropy program, and in response to the pandemic last year, we launched a special virtual Majlis series with the Gates Foundation in mid-2020. This has been a series of learning, discovery, and community building opportunities designed to improve the quality of strategic philanthropy in the Gulf region. Through curated webinars and virtual workshops featuring international and regional experts, we have engaged with over 200 participants, including many of you I see joining us today, who have been consistently engaged with the program over the last 6 months as you look to strengthen your role as a philanthropic donor and develop a network of like-minded philanthropists, as well as access resources to inform and support your strategic philanthropic giving. Today's webinar, we're talking about the intersection of innovation, business, and entrepreneurship with CSR and philanthropy. The words philanthropy and CSR often conjure up traditional, if not familiar, images of check writing and sponsorships. But if the last year has taught us anything, it's that traditional approaches can only get you so far, and that we have to use all the tools at our disposal to overcome challenges, especially large-scale or complex ones. Our guests today are synonymous with the terms innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. Patrick Chalhoub and Fadi Ghandour are two dynamic leaders that are known for their cutting-edge approach to business, as well as to giving back. When it comes to CSR and philanthropy, Fadi and Patrick are each known for showing up completely and for applying the same entrepreneurial vigor that they would to their own commercial endeavors in the sustainable development field. They don't just offer band-aid solutions, they enable communities to overcome their own unique challenges. And we are so pleased they could spend some time with us today to help us all think about how to implement an innovation lens to philanthropic giving. Moderating our discussion today will be Ms. Valentina Kosasaya. Valentina is the CEO of Abdul Hamid Shoman Foundation and an active member of the National Center for Human Rights, sitting on their board of trustees. As the CEO of the foundation, Valentina is leading the efforts to invest in cultural and social innovation to positively impact communities. Before joining the foundation, Valentina was the Director General of Jordan River Foundation, where she played a key role in initiating and supporting youth empowerment, entrepreneurship, and child safety programs. Of course, introducing our leading entrepreneurs, Mr. Fadi Ghandour is the Executive Chairman of WAMDA Group, a platform that invests, nurtures, and builds entrepreneurship ecosystems across the Middle East and North Africa. Fadi is also the founder of Aramex, one of the leading global logistics companies based here in the region. Passionate about impact and social entrepreneurship, Fadi founded and chairs Rawed for Development, a private sector-led community empowerment platform that helps marginalized communities across the MENA region overcome marginalization through civic engagement, education, and financial inclusion programs. He has also co-founded and supports El Riyadi, one of the leading nonprofit sport clubs in Jordan. Fadi serves on several global and regional boards of educational institutions, nonprofits, and social enterprises. We have, of course, as well, Mr. Patrick Chalhoub, who is the CEO of Chalhoub Group and oversees the retail operations of fashion houses based in the Gulf region, such as Louis Vuitton, Marc Jacobs, and Carolina Herrera within the UAE and wider Gulf region. The Chalhoub Group manages over 400 standalone retail outlets and department stores within the fashion, beauty, and luxury gift sectors. Patrick has been instrumental in guiding the development of a sustainable strategy for the Chalhoub Group with a focus on education, environmental, and humanitarian sustainability. In addition, Patrick serves on a board of a number of organizations, including the Pearl Initiative, Endeavor UAE, and sits on the global board of the United Nations Global Compact, as well as being a founding member of the Rotary in the UAE and an active member of the Young Presidents Organization. Thank you to our esteemed moderator and speakers for really sharing your time and insights with us today. Before I hand it over to Valentina, who will moderate today's discussion, we do like to make our webinars as interactive as possible. So we encourage you, the audience, to ask questions using the Q&A function on Zoom. And the panelists will try to answer as many as they can. Valentina will be fielding the questions throughout today's session, as well as through the dedicated Q&A session for about 10 minutes. And with that, over to you, Valentina.
Thank you very much, Rania. And thank you to the Pearl Initiative and the Philanthropy Network for convening this session, and to everyone in the audience for joining today. I'm very excited to lead this session today, along with two pillars of the community who really made a big impact in our region. As Rania mentioned, today we are talking about innovation and entrepreneurship enabled CSR and philanthropy. The MENA region has made significant advances in the development sector, but still harbors staggering challenges in areas of poverty alleviation, conflict, gender inequality, unemployment, and others. Philanthropists are responsible corporations, specifically those with rigorous commitment to impact, and they are the key players in helping us to close this gap. In this session, I would like to cover three topics today. First, we'll start with the benefits of innovation-enabled CSR and philanthropy. Then we will move to whether COVID-19 changed the course of innovation-enabled CSR and philanthropy. Following that, I hope we can shed light on the challenges, gaps, and opportunities on the horizon for innovation-enabled community empowerment. I will move to the panelists now, and I will ask them how they shape their CSR. I know that both Fadi and Patrick have an incomparable passion for the well-being of the society and giving back. Fadi and Patrick, could you please tell us a little bit about this passion and how you shaped your approach to giving back, and whether this is, how is it different from the traditional model of philanthropy and charity? Fadi, I'll give the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Valentina, and thank you for the Pearl Initiative for hosting us here. It's an honor to be with Patrick Chalhoub and the great work that he does across the region also. So look, there is, if the private sector and the entrepreneurial society and the entrepreneurial community that has been able to be successful and build successful businesses across this region have, in my view, a very specific and a very important role to play outside of their immediate business and focusing on their own business. It's a global issue, as you know. So the old, and I'll use some cliches here, the old story of is the business of business only business, or is there a role for business in society? And so I think since the 2009 financial crisis and going through the pandemic, there is a very strong argument, finally, that if you are going to dissociate yourself from society and its ailments and its challenges, wherever you are, whether you're in the Middle East and whether you're in the United States of America or wherever you can exist as a business, you are effectively going to affect the viability of your business, and you're going to affect the way you are going to recruit your talent, and you're going to affect how clients are going to be actually engaging with you. In today's world, in the 21st century, in the world of social media, in the world of extreme activism and awareness and the proliferation of knowledge and information on everything that's happening, we cannot, and the private sector cannot claim that it only focuses on one stakeholder, and that is the shareholder. The stakeholder view of how you manage your organization should be and is becoming even more at the core of this story. So your clients will not buy from you if you're not focusing on society, or at least engaging in a way that is responsible towards society. You can't recruit the millennials today unless you are at the forefront of the story of how you engage with your society. And so for me, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that has lived in the region, somebody that cares about the well-being of the region, and living and building a business in practically every city of this region, I'd be blind to tell you that, you know, I am only focusing on building the business and I don't care what happens with the rest of society. We're doing well only doing that. So it is basically feeling your citizenship, feeling your, I don't want to say to be nationalistic, that's not relevant, to be humanistic, to be an individual that cares in general about society. Then you're going to have to see what you as a business, as an individual, as the people in your organization, and as everyone that is touched by your organization, how are we going to engage in the broader society that we operate in? And that's what brought me to this story. So in Aramex, as you might know, and I'll end now, we've been at this story in various ways and various activities from the very early days, even when we were a small company. So it's not about size, it's about intention, and it's about where you want to focus your impact as a business or as an entrepreneur.
Patrick, would like to hear from you.
Sure. Thank you, Valentina, and thank you, Rania and Pearl Initiative for organizing it. It's a pleasure to be with you, Fadi. It's always extremely interesting to talk with you and get inspired with everything which you have to say. So from my perspective, and going back to your question, Valentina, of the passion of giving back and how it goes. I'm coming from a family business established since 65 years ago. And I would say into a family business, one of the most important aspects is to see how can we create a model which is sustainable, which you could give from generation to generation, which you could grow and develop and make develop into in the future. But how can you do it if you are not living in a more sustainable environment? How can you do it if the community, the society itself has too many challenges which you are not able to face and to do? So I would say, since my infancy, since I am born, I have always lived into this feeling that we really need to be sure, if we want to grow, to develop, to make sure that our society, our community will grow and develop. If we are taking something out of this community, we are sure that we can give back a little bit to this community, and more than a little bit. Then I would say, and going back to some of Fadi's point, today, if you want to run a business, today and yesterday, but even more today, how can you run a business if you are not running it in a responsible way? And if you do it, it will be very short-term sight. You really need to make sure that the business you are running is a business which is absolutely responsible. And when I am speaking about responsibility, it's not only the responsibility for my family. It's not only the responsibility for our 12,000 employees and families, it's a responsibility also for the community and making sure that we could give back. And also, if we need to attract people who are talented, who have this motivation in their self, you can only do it if you have a bigger purpose than your immediate purpose of making a business which could be profitable and give a salary part of it. And for all of this, I would say I feel very strongly of this idea of giving back. Now, the transformation, and sorry to take some time, Valentina, has been moving from a feeling that we need to give back, that we want to give back, that this is what will create sustainability, purpose, etc., to really move it into the heart of our strategy, into our business totally, and making sure that it is totally part of the strategy and not something which is sitting aside, like unfortunately, or I mean, thanks God, some are doing it. Some of the organization would feel it's a good to have, we should help and support through a philanthropy, through financial reward, etc. We moved it probably now about 15 years ago, probably a little bit later than you, Fadi, but about 2007, 2008, to be part of our strategy, to be part of whom we are and what we want to develop into it, to engage also our teams, existing or possible people whom we would hire and move into being part of what is their activity. And I would say the sentiment changed from giving us a feeling good of giving back to be really purpose-driven. And this has been for me and for my team, for my organization, a real game changer. It became part of whom we are and not part of what we want to be. So, in any case, I could go long and long, but I think it can give some perspective about the engagement of giving back, and which is really now part of our strategy and who we are.
Brilliant. Valentina,
you are on mute, Valentina. You are on mute.
Thank you, Patrick. I want Fadi to ask you. You can do giving back through writing a check. Let's say you believe in education, you just write a check, or if you believe in something, okay, you believe in the society, you write a check. But your model is different. What are the three main ideas that shaped your model? Could you explain your model a little bit, or your approach for us?
So I've evolved over the years, Valentina. So I am no longer part of a massive organization anymore. So I do write checks now. So, and I'll tell you that strategy so that because writing checks also democratizes the process of social entrepreneurs who are actually going out and making a difference on the ground. I can't do everything, but there are a lot of young guys and young men and women who are activists and want to make a difference. And so writing a check becomes important to the issues that you care about and you think they are going to actually either sustain them or get them to a point where they're solving a problem in society. But let me take you a step behind, back to the question that you wanted. So the idea for us and for me personally is that writing a check is in the old days and even today is not enough. You need to incorporate your giving and your impact within the organization, within its philosophy, give it the purpose, just as Patrick was saying now, so that it has that symbiotic relationship between society and between what you do as a business. So we needed to be activists. We needed to do things with our own hands. We needed to incorporate some of the things that we do within the business itself, so that your impact on society is part and parcel of your business, and parts and parcel of the products that you offer, and part and parcel of your presence in society, not only as an external intervention, but actually as a matter of course, as something that we do all the time. So for instance, when we say we want to as an organization, whatever organization you are in, whenever we would say we want to help create jobs, not only that we are creating those jobs as an organization ourselves, but actually how do we create a process of actually procuring from entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized enterprises? How do we make that structural in our organization, part and parcel of our policies? That if we are going to procure a certain product, if an SME or if a startup or if an entrepreneur is building that business, then maybe we'd give them that priority because we're creating jobs through that process. So it becomes not only a philanthropic process, it becomes a symbiotic relationship with the philosophical understanding that creating jobs, creating wealth, trickling down, knowing that this trickle down lingo is quite controversial sometimes, but it is essential. It is essential that businesses actually not make this as a pet project of a CEO or a founder, that it is foundational in the culture of the organization. Because if it's only me, Valentina, then I left my organization about 9 years ago as a CEO. If you look at it today, and I keep talking about Aramex because it shaped my life, you will find that you talk to anyone at Aramex today, specifically anyone that's over 5 years old in the company, there is that talk of culture. And when you ask about culture, there is that sense of an organization that actually feels and acts and does what it does in that. So that's our view. There is, it's an infrastructure process, so you can't dissociate it from the organization. And that's why we felt that not only writing checks, while we did that, we did support sports, we supported the arts. I mean, we're not artists, right? But you support the arts, you support sports, and you support where there are gaps in society. I mean, some people would say, these are the roles of government, etc. But no, we are partners in the society that we live in. We can't abdicate our role and say, well, we want to make profits and I want to maximize my profits. How terrible a concept that I am going to exist and the employees in any organization are going to exist thinking that their job is only the maximization of profits. So supporting anything that is of value to society also becomes important. So the writing the check, I don't want people to feel that writing the check is not important. The writing the check is important, but integrating the concept of impacting society in the culture of the organization is essential.
But Fadi, many call you the Godfather of Entrepreneurship. Okay.
I confirm it.
Yeah, in the region. What you have done at Aramex was amazing, and I was a little bit part of it at the time. Not as an Aramex employee, but as someone who collaborated with Aramex. But you as an individual, it's not just about Aramex, but it's you as an individual, and you are looking at entrepreneurs. So why are you still giving back? And you are giving back in a different way. Yani you are looking at a different model, finding gaps and then focusing on solving these gaps. But you still have the platform of WAMDA. So can you just explain it a little bit?
Yeah, I'll explain it because look, the concept of giving back is questionable in my mind. I am investing in the broad sense of the word rather than the concept of giving back. There is, when you're investing in entrepreneurs, you're investing in job creation, you're investing in new wealth, you're stepping up, taking risk, because I'm an early stage investor, very early stage investor. So that is an empowering process to create the 21st century companies, if you want, in the digital landscape, making sure that they have that early stage capital, because they can't actually survive if you don't have that risk and high risk capital to continue to build the business. That was a passion of mine, but that was also at the same time I felt very early on, that's back in 1999, long before the fad of startups today. I mean, when I invested in Maktoub in 1998, actually, people questioned why would I invest in an internet company. I mean, that's nobody questions that now. But at the end of the day, this is a process of market making, if you want. So if I would invest, then others would come and invest, and then you create that entrepreneurial society that we are thriving to have, so that people don't look for jobs in government, but actually look for jobs either in startups or start their own businesses, so that, you know, the cliche become job creators rather than only job seekers.
Thank you, Fadi. Patrick, you mentioned that you started in 2007. Would you think that it takes some time to have the giving back in your strategy after you have a large company, or you can do it even when you still have a small company?
So just to precise, we started much before 2007, but as Fadi was saying, more writing check left, right, rather than putting it within the strategy and with another purpose, which has changed us quite a lot. And I'll go back to our example, but to answer straightforward your question, I think at any size of company, you can absolutely embed it in your strategy. It depends of what you are, what do you think, but also what you are targeting for, what you are aiming for, and how you do it. And I really encourage any activity, any businesses, small or big, in any industry, startup or big corporation, to really embed it into their strategy, because this is the best way to attract talent, to keep your talent, to make sure that you have this entrepreneurial spirit, etc. Now, going back to our example as an organization and as a group, I would say what have changed quite a lot since 2007. One, in terms of social responsibility, and I'm not speaking necessarily only about the entrepreneurial part and which is there. We were trying to do too many things and nothing at the same time. So we decided to put ourselves a certain strategy and to focus on few areas, and the areas which we selected. And doesn't mean that a lot of other areas are not very valuable, but to focus in area where we felt we could give an impact. Small or big, each one of us could give an impact, but we tried to define a clear strategy and where we could give an impact. We tried to focus on three things: education, environment, and some of the humanitarian causes, which in our region of the world, and you know it, unfortunately, is badly needed, and to some of them. Now, and particularly on education, and for us, education is the best way to make economical development, wealth development, individually, for the community, and for all different countries, and in order to do it. And it could have different aspects, and I will come back to it in a moment. Now, having said that, we also focus on the fact it's not only about the checks or the money we could give or support in certain part, and the most difficult into it is to choose. It is also about how we could engage our team in order to be part of it, our businesses to be part of it, because at the same time, this is what will make it progress. So the big change is to define a strategy, to put it together with certain choices, and to make sure that it involves our people into it. To give you an example, last year, in spite of the pandemic, out of 12,000 team members, 5,000 out of 12,000 participated in a way or in another in some of the activity which have. And time and their own involvement is valuable, and as valuable, if not some time, than money which could give into it. Now, going back to the educational part where we have developed quite a lot, it is different aspects of it. So it could be for primarily students, children in need, children who have not a lot of education with a lot of involvement. It could be on the contrary, in order to go to students who have potential and to help them and support it into their drive and into their higher education and possibly to shine and to also make a difference. And we have, thanks God, a lot of very good example into it. But it could be also into the economical, I would say, aspects where we have created this incubator, this accelerator, initially opened only for our team members, and which we have broadened up quite a lot, because we felt that we have also a role to play in order to support the people to move forward and to take some initiative to make it happen and to develop. And we felt two things. One, it will change the mindset within the organization. And in an organization of our size, often you become very process oriented. We wanted to remain extremely entrepreneurial oriented for all our resources. And that helped a lot changing this mindset and keeping the initiative and entrepreneurial mindset in the heart of it. It helped also those people to be able to develop and shine, but it helped us as an organization to also acquire a lot of different ideas, projects, etc., in which we even invested on because we believed in it, and which we have encompassed and move it forward. And really making sure that with an incubation platform which has been put into the beauty industry, into the fashion industry, into the retail tech, not in the fintech, but into the retail tech, into it, putting a framework in order to help this acceleration and this contact with those startups and moving it forward, has done well for those people, have done well for the society and the movement, and have done well also into the change of mindset which we have done. And for me, we are really at the beginning, at the infancy of all those programs. And you see a lot of organization, big or small, really now investing very heavily into it. So for some, it even replaced their research and development teams which in which they were having, and at the same time, it's fantastic platforms for the people to be able to develop, grow their idea, and move them forward.
Excellent. So internal innovation plus incubating innovators or outsourcing some of your, let's say, the supplies from entrepreneurs, or I mean technology.
And accelerating them as well. I mean, helping the acceleration process, because often there is a lot of support for the startup. Sometimes it's not enough to help them to scale up. And obviously it's about money, and the Fadi is definitely one of those who are with the platform created. But it's not only about the investment into it. It's also how you could support them, how you could network for them and help them to connect with some of their customers, how you could give them the right advice, mentoring, etc., which we can give, or our team members can also give. And this is where we involve also a lot of our team members.
Yeah, this is very important. But I want to go to our situation now with the COVID. Do you think that COVID has changed the course of the innovation-enabled CSR and philanthropy?
I mean, definitely it have had an influence and a strong impact into it. And in some time, because it has obliged us to rethink it and to adapt to a situation which was a different situation. In certain areas, it has slowed that down. In many areas, it also helped us to accelerate. It helped us to accelerate. I mean, look at even the mentoring which we could give and which you were making in person, and how much today thanks to the digital connection which existed, you can spread it out much more at the teaching, the university part, the educational part, and how you could develop it and move it forward. Look about, again, this idea of working from home and how we have been obliged to move into it and to adapt the situation. And as a group now, we have made it not anymore working from home. It's working from anywhere. It makes it give business sense, which help us acquiring and moving with people throughout the world and not only based where we are based, which helped our teams to have a more balanced life and being able to continue and to grow and to develop at the in a certain area. So we tried to take some of the learnings which we had because of the pandemic and to try to see some bright side of it and making sure that we can engage into this bright side and moving it forward. I mean, some of the initiative which we have taken in terms of giving back, as we said, today we have encouraged people individually to engage in a way or another, and then eventually to promote it, to make a small video, plug it in internally, externally, and move it forward, which has been much more inspiring for other and engaging for other than ever before. So yes, it has changed a lot, acceleration, but at the same time, slow down certain areas also because of the economical effect which has been done into it. Some of the project, Valentina, which we had started before and on our external part, like what we called the school in the clouds, which is renamed now Mia project, have been we have been able with the support of other organization, our support like Dubai Care and other organizations, to try to bring education not only to the few ones where we could bring it through a physical school, etc., but we could plug it through again the digital devices and bring it today in a pilot site to 6,000 students. And it could be to hundreds of students and children spread out every part. So it only accelerated, even if it was started before.
Fantastic. Fadi, since you support, like Patrick, a lot of entrepreneurs as part of your CSR, and during this pandemic, many, it has crippled many businesses. But as everybody's saying, that technology has emerged as the real winner and the real hero. Do you focus more on giving back to, or you're giving back to entrepreneurs who are into technology, or have you changed the way you are giving back due to the COVID and the opportunities that it opened?
Look, the digital landscape and the young entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs that have been building the young businesses that have served society in the past year when everything was shut down proved that it is, society has shifted. I mean, the digital landscape has shifted, and the enablement and the ability to be digital is critical. So that needs to accelerate, and you need to do much more of it. It didn't change anything for me because I believe that is the story. But this is also a business perspective. I don't want to say that I'm giving back to society by investing in entrepreneurs. That's a bit taking it a step more than I need to. That's what I do for a living at this stage, and so if it helps entrepreneurs build businesses, then that's part and parcel of what I am doing.
Fadi, but let me put a point here. You started that even with university students, so it's a passion, and you have always looked at the youth as they are the ones who you would be supporting. So definitely you have always been supporting youth and giving back, and you opened a door for them to start to invest in their ideas, and you promoted entrepreneurship. So definitely I can say, yes, you are still giving back. You're not only as an investor, no. And when you invest, you look at impact. So definitely you're not just any investor, you are giving back. Part of it is through investment. So
yes, I in the wider scope of things, what I do and what the organizations I work with or help create are in the business always to find a way how to impact society. I mean, so there's no question about it. It's part and parcel of what I do. If we invest, then that's part of what we do. And if we actually create these micro businesses that are by university students, if we incubate them, if we give them seed capital at the very early stage, if we support their ideas, that's a philosophical process of how I choose to exist and how I choose to conduct myself as an individual and as a person that of means. I mean, we have to say that I was lucky. I built a good business, yes, but I'm a person of means, and I can. And because I can, then I am doing what it is, and it gives me purpose. So it gives me as an individual purpose. It gives the people that work with me a sense of purpose and relevance. You know, in today's world, it is very difficult as you grow in age, one, and as the world changes around you, the sense of purpose is gives you the hope to continue and to continue to be an active part and an active citizen in society. But let me take this a step further, so that I saw a good question from Atallah Kuttab here, and yeah. I know Atallah by reputation, and I have a lot of respect for him. Absolutely, corporations have to actually move into the holistic challenges of society, not only job creation. Even though philosophically, I think, you know, when the young talent that is graduating from our universities find a place for them to create businesses and find jobs and have, become productive in society, it helps solve a lot of the challenges of society. But it doesn't mean that we don't have human rights issues. It doesn't mean that we have other challenges in society. But let me give you an example of things that I did also with Valentina. Part of an organization that I worked with Valentina was addressing child abuse in society that refused to accept that there was child abuse. And we had a big safe home in Amman to bring the children that were abused and protect them. This was purely a non-governmental organization that is treading a very sensitive issue in a society that wants to keep its issues hidden. What we do at Ruwad, and you might know Ruwad, you know, we're in Palestine, we're in Egypt, we are obviously in Jordan, and we work in Lebanon, mostly around education, mostly around youth, and mostly around the challenges of youth. If you come any Saturday to any of our events at Ruwad, we get our youth to talk about everything that you can imagine that they face in society, from family abuse to child abuse, to sexual issues, to male dominance, to the meaning of citizenship, to discussing the constitutions of the countries that they live in. So that we have a safe place where that platform allows our youth to actually air their views, and we bring them experts. We bring them people of influence to come and talk to them, so that there is that engagement, so that the youth feel that they are reached out to and communicated with and engaged, so that they can understand, because it doesn't necessarily always exist even with the proliferation of information because of the internet. There is a lack of credible knowledge and credible debate around these issues beyond the bombastic stuff that you see on social media. I'll give you an example, Atallah. We went through a process, and Valentina knows, in Jordan around two very important societal issues. One, safe homes. We did a safe homes campaign in marginalized areas in Amman, and we did a safe schools campaign and we engaged you would be, I mean, it's incredible, specifically in the Safe Homes campaign, when we bring mothers and fathers to come and talk about home abuse to their children, and they come and with a sense of coming out, you know, we did this, we were abused, now we became abusers, how do we solve it? And it was extremely powerful. So no, we do address these things. They're not necessarily part of the corporation, but Ruad was born out of corporation and continues to be supported by a corporation. So طبعا, it is a must that, and that's why I say writing the check is also essential, Valentina, because you write the checks for the social entrepreneurs that corporations cannot do, right? So organizations and civil society in Jordan, in Lebanon, I mean, without civil society in Lebanon after the blast of Beirut, nobody would have responded because there was no government to respond. You know, the municipality of Beirut was absent for a full month after 1/3 of the city was destroyed. In the Palestinian areas, as Atallah would know, it's civil society and let me not call them NGOs, the impact organizations on the ground, it solves and addresses a lot of the challenges because governments cannot and will not, in many cases, actually address these challenges.
Exactly. Thank you, Fadi. Patrick.
I love your engagement, Fadi. Yalla.
Yeah, the passion he has, Fadi, is contagious always.
I have a loud voice. I have a loud voice.
And a large heart. Patrick, your model was very unique, especially the one with the internal innovation and the incubator and accelerator. Do you engage also customers in not with your for your sustainability, so that they are not just consumers but also part of your strategy design, etc.?
So I would say we engage our customer more on some of our social responsibility elements. We engage them to be able to give back, and you know, Valentina, what has happened is quite a change into the mindset of our customers. Today, we feel, especially in the young generation, this willingness to be able to give back. I think that with more education, with more connection, with more opening, we are more and more seeing it, and they are more and more sensitive to those matters of sustainability, giving back, and making sure we engage them. So we try to engage them in a certain way where they could feel that they are part of something, they are working with a group which have it at heart and moving it hard. I wouldn't say we really engage it into our social entrepreneurship and innovative part of it, more than to help and support certain of the causes and making it forward. But it's a very good point which is raised. So we engage a lot of our teams, and we try to also engage some people of the external world in order to be able to do it.
Do you think there is a question here which I think is very important, is that social contributions usually is based on the board's discretion and willingness to give. What's your take on regulating social contributions by the private sector into sectors and causes that align with each company's domain, maybe? So by regulating, I mean making contributions mandatory, like it to become not part of you wanting to be this or the organization culture, but it's mandatory for every organization, whether small or big.
So my initial view, I'm much more personally for a deregulation and to raise awareness and to raise this responsibility, and having this example which is moving it up and down. I think that by over-regulating, it's counter-purpose, then people try to defeat the purpose itself. Having said that, I think that by raising the awareness, by leading by example, by really seeing the benefit of what you are doing and embedding it, you have a much better result than just doing it. Then I think that it shouldn't sit necessarily as a board decision or as a dividend distribution part of it. I think that it has to be part of the way companies are being built up and part of their governance itself and the way they move forward, rather than making it within an obligatory framework to companies, and especially not only regulated by a government and pushing it to the public sector. I think it will be much more powerful. Look at the example I would say we have here in Dubai of those CSR program awards and being part of the club and moving it forward, etc. So this is a very positive dynamic which you put and you move it forward, rather than you feel it's a kind of taxation of obligation which you have into doing it. But it requires also a certain level of maturity in order to be able to reach it. Now, having said that, we are in an environment where you have the zakat, and the zakat is a way to be able to give back and to monitor and drawn by the government itself.
Yes. These two excellent models and approaches that you and Fadi mentioned, you still do face challenges, I'm sure, right? Like what challenges have you faced with your approaches also?
That we face, or the company we support face, or both?
No. You faced as an organization with your approach in CSR. I'd like to hear your views, Fadi and Patrick.
I mean, definitely one of the challenges is to make sure that we could devote enough time, energy, and money in order to make it happen and to see how it will be totally integrated in moving it. So having to be able to move it forward humanly, financially, is one of the challenges we are meeting. Two is to make sure, as I said, it's embedded in our culture, in our DNA, in our strategy, and not this feeling that it is something which is additional to it, but something which is part of it. And this is something which we really need to make sure that it is totally within our culture. Then some of the challenges is we have situation, and I don't like at all to generalize, where there is always some people who would try to abuse from the system, including those who are supporting. So making sure that we could measure what we do, measure our impact, but also assess how much far it's giving and which impact it's giving, and otherwise making sure that we make the necessary adjustment in order to be able to move forward and not only remain on something which has been established because it has been established. And sometimes it means some of the hard discussion which we might have internally or externally in order to do it.
Thank you, Patrick. Fadi, would like to hear from you. You've been in this field a long time, so would like to hear what challenges you have also faced, or you there are in entrepreneurship-led CSR.
So I agree. I mean, I've faced some of the issues that Patrick talked about, but let me add that being a public company, and public meaning we are listed on a stock exchange, there was and there is a need to discuss and to be obviously always transparent, to say that what we're doing effectively is essential. You know, when I was, again, back to the Aramex story, when I was at Aramex, we were, as you might know, Valentina, we were the first company to publish a dual reporting. And until today, I mean, this is about 14, 15 years ago, we publish our financials and we publish our impact. So meaning Aramex being in the logistics business, we also are, the logistics business is a polluter. So we publish our standards of how are we addressing the challenge of CO2 emissions. And we put for ourselves a certain KPIs that we cannot go beyond, so that we are able to do that. We talk about women empowerment. How do we address the challenges of women that work in our organizations? I mean, this is all an essential issue, and not always in the public domain. Your shareholders actually are interested in this. So, and maybe my message here is, wake up shareholders.
Yeah.
You know, a society that is not thriving is not going to get you dividends from the company that is living in a country or a society that is not capable of actually making and sustaining itself, because society is miserable. This issue is extremely critical for us, so that we understand.
Yeah, this is fantastic. But Fadi, how do you measure the social impact?
Look, Valentina, this is a very, very, very long story. We can do a panel on it. I am one of those people that says impact in society is generational. So don't ask me in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, what's your impact? I don't know. I am doing what I'm doing. Give it time. The next generation will know. The critical element here is I keep doing, and we keep doing. That's the important thing. Amma, to tell me, you know, what's your impact? Are you doing this? I don't know. I'm not going to think about it, because if it comes out and it becomes a data issue, as important as data is, then I have to basically justify it every year. And it is like quarterly results for companies that are entrepreneurial. My quarterly results are not important. It is what I do on the long term that matters. And the same thing with societal impact.
Thank you, Fadi.
And I would add on it, Fadi, each one of us individually can impact. If you have the willingness to impact, you have to do it and move it forward. And the first assessment is by yourself, on yourself, and the same for your company, your organization, and your teams, which is quite significant to do it. But we have to have this conviction that everything we do individually or all of us could impact, and let us do it. And from our side, I would say we have this kind of simulation between teams where they feel that they are giving some impact and some result and some achievement comparing to each other. And those are really very simulating around by the team, but for the better good of all.
Yeah, Patrick,
Valentina, one last thing I'd say is, you know, when you talk about impact, you need to think of us mimicking human life, right? So when you ask me, you know, as we grow up, it takes us a long period of time to learn, to engage, to get nurtured by our families, etc., etc. It's the same thing with impact. So let's put this to sleep. This is, you know, and I'll be challenging here. The United Nations and the global DFIs need to have a very serious discussion of what they mean by impact, because they are becoming project-based rather than societal impact-based. Because, you know, I'm ticking the box, I did the project, I am going home, thank you very much. And then when you look back, you say, what impact? Nothing happened, because it only happens by parachuting an intervention and not looking at the long-term process of this.
Fantastic answer, Fadi. And Patrick, I would like to copy this answer and use it, because I always questioned this. There's a question to both of you. Your views on creating shared value strategies as the next step beyond sustainability. It's a bit complex. Your views on creating shared value strategies as the next step beyond sustainability.
But that's what we've been talking about, Patrick and I, for the past hour, with all due respect. Yani, I mean, this is, we're not talking about sustainability. We were talking about, you know, a holistic view of how we conduct ourselves while we're living.
Yeah.
And I would say the shared values, part of it is the sustainability, which we are going to create. So if there is a shared value and you want to create an impact, it goes in many and beyond only sustainability, but it's also part of it.
Yeah. We still have many questions, but unfortunately, since this is a very engaging session and both of you are so passionate about it, we will send you the questions maybe and you can answer them. But I would like to take a couple of minutes from each of you to give your like a summary or a few points to corporations or individuals. What would you tell them?
So I will go back to something which I have already said. we all can be impactful. We all have a role to play individually, as big or as small as we are. The most important is to make it happen and to move forward. And the worst is just to stand still and to look at others doing it. It could be in funding, but it's not only in funding, but it could be in funding, it's already fine, but it could be in action. And the more we are driving this action, it is fulfillment for ourselves, but also for the people, our families and the people who are around us.
Fantastic. Fadi?
So I would say to people, and because this pandemic has accentuated our existence on this earth, I would tell people, look at how thin it is to move from earning a decent living to actually being at the borderline of poverty or beyond poverty, just because there was this impact. And look at how suddenly you see the fissures and you see the challenges of society very clearly. And this tells us how important it is for us to step in at all times, so that we make people, we share and we make people always beyond slipping into a place of oblivion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fadi and Patrick. I will give the mic back to Rania for her points. Rania?
Thank you all, and really thank you again to our esteemed moderator, Valentina. And thank you so much, Patrick and Fadi, for this inspiring, passionate, and thought-provoking conversation. I would like to also thank our co-hosts, the Philanthropy Network, and the generous support of the Gates Foundation, who hosted this webinar series. I want to also thank you, our audience, for your participation, your deep questions, and your engagement. I know we couldn't get to all the questions here today, but please do reach out to us, and we encourage you to visit the Pearl Initiative website or contact us via email or our social media channels to find out about upcoming webinars, trainings, and workshops on similar topics. Thank you, everyone. Please stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Rania. Thank you, Valentina. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Rania, Valentina, and Fadi. Bye.
Bye, everyone.